So what I found really interesting in this book, so that they make some links here to older Hindu deities, because of course Buddhism grows out of Hinduism, right? And some of the
Mm,
iconography from Hinduism does get transferred over. And apparently, so I'm not an expert in this individual at all, but his name was Vajrapani. He's a warrior, right? So it kind of grows out of this Hindu like warrior caste. So he's sort of this like martial sort of god, and he's actually the official deity of the Shaolin Temple. So I think that might be, so I think that's one of the ways where they sort of use the mythology and iconography of Buddhism to try to justify, in a sense, how they're able to be involved again in participating in warfare and conflict. Is that this is their sort of like their patron sort of god. Their dietary practices, which I thought was pretty
hmm.
interesting, because generally speaking, like a Buddhist monks are supposed to be vegetarian, right?
Yeah, I was assuming that was what you were going to lead into now. Is that not the case? Was it not a vegetarian diet? So,
So apparently, it was the only temple in China where the monks were allowed to consume meat and wine. And it kind of,
oh,
again,
wow.
kind of harkens back to some of these older stories. And there's one particular story where there's this monk and he's weak and feeble, and he comes across like some sort of deity, and the deity like criticizes him and tells him to eat meat, and then he eats meat and he gains his strength and is able to like fight off the sort of bandits or whoever had been attacking the community. So it was kind of interesting. He spends in the book a big long chunk on this, talking about how there are just so many very strange kind of contradictions in the Shaolin Temple. Other temples in China, it's vegetarian, and I've been to them.
Mm.
Like in China, you can actually go to some temples, eat vegetarian food, which is great. I'm a
Mm.
vegetarian, so I always appreciated that.
Oh, wow.
But
Yeah, you
yeah,
must have been loving it.
always, yeah, really, really, really good food. But so the Shaolin Temple sort of exempt from that. And again, it comes back to this idea that they see themselves as more of like a martial branch of Buddhism. They see like their sort of involvement in worldly affairs and participation in combat or military campaigns or violence as being protective in a way, as a way of kind of protecting Buddhism, protecting their temple. So as a result, there are certain kind of behaviors that were and are accepted in Shaolin that would not be the case in other Buddhist temples.